Rudyard Kipling was born in Bombay, India on December 30th, 1865. His father was John Lockwood Kipling, an artist and teacher of architectural sculpture. His mother was Alice MacDonald Kipling. At the age of 6, he was sent to live with a foster family in South Sea, England, where he was bullied and physically abused. This experience contributes to some of his later writing, such as in his story Baba Black Sheep and his autobiography Something of Myself. 6 years later, at the age of 12, he went to school at the United States College. When he was 16, he returned to live with his parents in Lahore, India, and worked at the Civil and Military Gazette. Kipling returned to England in 1889, where he won instant success with his story Baroque Room Ballads. Shortly after, he married Carrie Balestier in 1892. They traveled to Brattleboro, Vermont in the United States, where Carrie's family lived in means of settling down. While in Brattleboro, he wrote Captains Courageous and The Jungle Book. This is also where his first 2 children, Josephine and Elsie, were born. After a fight Kipling had with his brother-in-law, they traveled back to Sussex, England, where they moved into the Elms. This is where their son John was born. In early 1899, Josephine Kipling died of pneumonia. By now, Rudyard Kipling was known as the poet of empire and produced many stories, such as Kim, Stalky and Co., and Just So Stories, which was written in memory of Josephine, who he would tell stories to before bedtime.
The Elephant's Child. In the high and far-off times, the elephant, O best beloved, had no trunk. He had only a blackish, bulgy nose as big as a boot that he could wriggle about from side to side, but he couldn't pick up things with it. But there was one elephant, a new elephant, an elephant's child, who was full of satiable courteosity. And that means he asked ever so many questions. And he lived in Africa, and he filled all Africa with his satiable courteosities. He asked his tall aunt, the ostrich, why her tail feathers grew just so, and his tall aunt, the ostrich, spanked him with her hard claw. He asked his tall uncle, the giraffe, what made his skin spotty, and his tall uncle, the giraffe, spanked him with his hard hoof. And still he was full of satiable courteosity. He asked his broad aunt, the hippopotamus, why her eyes were red, and his broad aunt, the hippopotamus, spanked him with her broad hoof. And he asked his hairy uncle, the baboon, why melons tasted just so, and his hairy uncle, the baboon, spanked him with his hairy paw. And still he was full of satiable courteosity. He asked questions about everything that he saw or heard, or felt or smelt or touched, and all his uncles and his aunts spanked him. And still he was full of satiable courteosity. One fine morning, in the middle of the procession of the equinoxes, this satiable elephant's child asked a new, fine question that he had never asked before. He asked, "What does the crocodile have for dinner?" Then everybody said, "Hush!" in a loud and dreadful tone, and they spanked him immediately and directly, without stopping, for a long time. By and by, when that was finished, he came upon the colo bird, sitting in the middle of a wait-a-bit thorn bush, and he said, "My father has spanked me, and my mother has spanked me. All my aunts and uncles have spanked me for my satiable courteosity, and still I want to know what the crocodile has for dinner." Then the colo bird said with a mournful cry, "Go to the banks of the great grey, green, greasy Limpopo River, all set about with fever trees, and find out." That very next morning, when there was nothing left of the equinoxes, because the procession had proceeded according to precedent, this satiable elephant's child took 100 pounds of bananas, the little short red kind, and 100 pounds of sugar cane, the long purple kind, and 17 melons, the greeny crackly kind, and said to all his dear families, "Goodbye, I am going to the great grey-green greasy Limpopo River, all set about with fever trees, to find out what the crocodile has for dinner. And they all spanked him once more for luck, though he asked them most politely to stop. Then he went away, a little warm, but not at all astonished, eating melons and throwing the rind about because he could not pick it up.
At the Museum of the Rottingdean Preservation Society, there is now a Kipling room dedicated to his work at the Elms where he lived. In 1902, since he had become so popular, he decided to move to a more secluded home called Bateman's nearby in Sussex. This is where he will spend his remaining years. Here he wrote Puck of Pook's Hill and Rewards and Fairies. Kipling wrote the poem The Absent-Minded Beggar, which had raised vast sums of money for British soldiers in the Boer War. The Battle of Loos is where he lost his son John at the age of 18 in 1915. During his work on the Imperial War Graves Commission, King John V had become a personal friend of his. He was even offered a knighthood and declined. He had rejected many honors offered to him, but did accept the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1907. Unfortunately, in January of 1936, Rudyard died. He was buried at the Poets' Corner in Westminster Abbey, which was a big honor. This is a 1994 movie trailer for The Jungle Book, written by Rudyard Kipling.
He's vicious and uncivilized.
Then we'll make him civilized.
I will not lose you to some jungle boy.
I hunt animals, you know. Maybe someday you hunt me.
You're not an animal, you're a man.
I am not a man!
From one of the greatest novels ever written comes a thrilling motion picture classic.
I will come back for you.
I know.
Walt Disney Pictures presents The Jungle Book.
Kipling wrote the poem If when he lived in the Elm. It is said to have been based off of his two friends, Cecil Rhodes and Dr. Jameson.
If by Rudyard Kipling. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build 'em up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings, and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, And so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but are none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And, which is more, you'll be a man, my son.
Imperialism is when a country extends their power and influence through diplomacy or military force. This idea is commonly found in many of Kipling's work, such as in White Man's Burden. The poem is a satire expressing the hardships placed on Americans to spread their advancement with the rest of the world.
Take up the white man's burden. Send forth the best ye breed. Go bind your souls to exile, to serve your captives' need, to wait in heavy harness on fluttered folk and wild, your new caught sullen peoples, half devil and half child. Take up the white man's burden, in patience to abide, to veil the threat of terror, and check the show of pride, by open speech and simple, and 100 times made plain, to seek another's profit, and work another's gain. Take up the white man's burden, the savage wars of peace. Fill full the mouth of famine, and bid the sickness cease. And when your goal is nearest, the end for others sought, watch six and heathen folly bring all your hopes to naught. Take up the white man's burden, no tawdry rule of kings, but toil of serf and sweeper, the tale of common things. The ports she shall not enter, the roads she shall not tread. Go mark them with your living, and mark them with your dead. Take up the white man's burden, and reap his old reward, the blame of those ye better, the hate of those ye guard, the cry of hosts ye humor. Ah, slowly toward the light. Why brought he us from bondage, our loved Egyptian night? Take up the white man's burden. Ye dare not stoop to less, nor call too loud on freedom to choke your weariness. By all ye cry or whisper, by all ye leave or do, the silent, sullen peoples shall weigh your gods and you. Take up the white man's burden. Have done with childish days, the lightly proffered laurel, the easy, ungrudged praise. Comes now to search your manhood through all the thankless years, cold edged with dear-brought wisdom, the judgment of your peers.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple